Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among many other things. Now, I'm going to take a look here today at Litecoin. And just before we do, please understand that this is a technical analysis. There's no fundamentals here. But I usually make a lot of videos like this for my patrons and or my community members to ensure that we always stay in the know, right? We want to make sure to make good, sound investments. And being a patient trader myself, I like to kind of instill that with my community. So thanks again for being patient, obviously, here. And this review is for my patrons, of course, because I'm planning to send out a signal regarding this coin because it just seems to be, has all the wonderful elements that I believe are necessary to take a long position, a potential swing trade position and or hodl position, depending on who you are. Either way, we'll get to that here in just a moment. But just know I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. You should do your own research and make sure that you always take ownership of your trades. And what I mean by that is just learn as much as you can for as many people as possible and ensure that you are patient, obviously, and try not to buy into the hype. I know it's easier said than done, but try your best not to do that. Of course, without further ado, why don't we just go ahead and jump right in to the charts. Oh, I'm sorry. One last thing. I got to let you know this here as well. I do have a signal group. Link in the description below. I send out 3 to 5 signals per week. Hodl trades, swing trades, day trades, of course, to help, you become a better trader. And I essentially just share all of my trades with my community. So check that out in your own time, of course, if you are new to the channel. Thank you so much. If not, without further ado, let's just go ahead and get right to it. Let's check it out. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look here at Litecoin. And just before we do, we always look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first, get a baseline of the market so we know exactly what's going on. Because any good trader will understand, all the angles in the market before they jump in and make a decision or an investment, obviously. So we'll go and take a look at that here. And just to clarify too, I get this question a lot, so I just pretty much throw it on every video. I use TradingView.com desktop application. Highly recommend the paid versions just because you get more than 2 indicators present at any given time. This is built into a lot of other platforms as well, but you have some limitations, at least with the ones that I use. And I'll go through that here today, of course. But first and foremost, this is again Bitcoin 4-hour chart. We're going to take a look at the moving averages, and we are well above the 50 and the 200-day simple moving average. It almost looks like the price rejected off of the 50 recently here because it did dip down to about 48,300 at its lowest point, and then it's been pretty much on a tear since then. So in the last, I would say, 12 hours-ish, so actually more so about 16 hours, you're looking at about a 5% increase for Bitcoin, which is pretty significant considering usually it doesn't quite do that in that short amount of time, at least, well, anyways, Bitcoin's Bitcoin. We'll leave it at that. It does do that a lot, actually, come to think of it. But, we're looking pretty good right now at this point. Now, great news too, of course, and this is, again, neither here nor there, but we've got 49,300 as a major support level. That worked very well as a support here recently, which is great. And then if we look at the one-day chart just quickly here, we did see the fact that the price, the candlestick yesterday closed below 50,000, right? So it wasn't officially confirmed to break that resistance. Now, today's candle is looking much better. I think there's a strong likelihood we're going to see that close above 50,000. And if so, we're going to start seeing a lot of other altcoins take off because we should be in a range to essentially be able to, start trending towards 56 and 60,000 based on that sentiment alone. In fact, you could even say the same thing as well if you look at the weekly chart. If this candle, the weekly candle, closes above 50,000, we're going to be in pretty darn good shape. Okay, because as you can see, it kind of got stuck in this little range here between 46,800 and 49,300. So it's all looking pretty good right now, of course. Now, a little early to tell if, in that case, we do have about 10 hours left in this trading cycle. So keep that in mind as well. The price very well could come back down sub 50,000 and close and stay in this channel, remain in this channel for a while. But it does seem to be very bullish here at this point. So I think we're looking to be pretty good. Moving on to Ethereum. This guy is taking off. So hopefully you have open positions on Ethereum or have been hodling for a little while since, 2 to 3,000 range, because it is cranking right now. We're almost at 4,000, which is fantastic because that is the previous all-time high, if I'm not mistaken, as far as closing on the daily chart, if I recall correctly. Yeah. So on the daily, we have a maximum. Basically, the highest point on the daily is 4163. So we may see that tested here in the near future, especially if Bitcoin can keep kicking off like it has been. We're going to be able to see, Ethereum test 4160, or just say 4150 as a round number. That is essentially the next major resistance for Ethereum. But yeah, right now, definitely looking very good. I'm pretty sure we had a convergence on the MACD. Yes, we did. and firing on all cylinders here for Ethereum. Now moving on to Litecoin, let's go ahead and take a look at this. First of all, just to note, tons of volume here in the last 24 hours, or more importantly, the last 8 hours, but significant improvement there. And obviously too, and here's something you really need to understand, big picture, Litecoin has tons of potential, even more so than Bitcoin as far as 2x or 3x in that sense, because just say we get up to our highest point here, because this was back in May. Again, bear in mind, Bitcoin was at like 50,000, 45 to 50,000 in May. We're at 50,000 plus right now. So I think Litecoin is just getting started. Because if you look back here before April 17th, this major Bitcoin sell-off, Litecoin was averaging somewhere between 175 upwards about 300. Okay, so we are on the low end of that average true range right now, which is fantastic. Basically a great sign here, and does look like we are breaking some previous, more recent resistance levels here. So if we look here at about 200, let's just say run number 200, we are soon to break that. Again, this has to close above to consider that to be a broken resistance and a support moving forward, but that is essentially very helpful. Also note too, we have this as well, the most recent highs. We're breaking those too, and we've got the 200-day simple moving average right in the middle. So there's basically 3 levels of potential support here for Litecoin if we can close above any of those 3 lines. So we're in really good shape there for Litecoin. I like this a lot. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and send this out as a signal to my community here, because honestly, this is looking very good. So moving forward here, let's take a look at some other things here as well. Of course, we got a convergence on the 1-day chart. That is fantastic, as well as the fact that RSI is under 70. RSI under 70 on the 1-day chart plus some MACD convergence, that's like a win-win. That is a very, very good sign. So I like that as well. Obviously, again, Litecoin is contingent on Bitcoin success, right? But if we can get Bitcoin to close over 50,000 going into the weekend, I think Litecoin is going to continue to take off. We've also got a convergence on the MACD here as well. That was a few days ago, though. Looks like on the 31st at 9 a.m. we had a convergence. So let's go ahead and mark that on the calendar or chart. It's kind of a calendar when you think about it. All right, and then what else I want to look at here as well, of course, is simple moving averages. Pretty much goes without saying, but you can see that the 50 was working as a resistance. Now it's a support, so the 50-day simple moving average will be working its way up as well. All good things for Litecoin here. So it's got a lot of different support levels that are starting to form, which is really, really good. RSI is just barely over 70, so there's plenty of room for growth here. I think Litecoin has a lot more room for potential. Let's take a look at the 1-hour chart and see how that MACD convergence shows up here. So here's the MACD convergence on the 1-hour chart. Let me go ahead and turn off some things so you can see this a little better. But if you can see this here, I marked this on the the 4-hour chart, right? I just drew that line. That's when the MACD was telling us we have a convergence. That's usually a swing trade signal to go long, right? So when you see that on the chart, you can kind of identify, hey, okay, I want to take a long position to the upside. The likelihood of a downside is pretty low considering the fact that the bulls just took control and the bears are conceding, right? Plus the increase in volume, a lot of good things going on there. But furthermore, if you go to the 1-hour chart and you enable the Ishimoku cloud, first of all, if you're new to the channel and you're new to the cloud, it's going to look a lot uglier than the one that I have here. It's going to look something like this because of the fact that there's a lot of different indicators present. Just disable the first 5 notifications there. It's the 5th one you want. It's basically the plot background there for the cloud. But what I'm getting at here is when you have the cloud, and if you're just say you're new to that, when the price is above the cloud, it's considered a buy signal. When it's below, it's considered a sell signal. So generally speaking here, if we were to look at this chart, above it's considered bullish, below is bearish. But at this point, when you have a convergence on the MACD and a 1-hour crossover on the cloud, we get a kind of recipe for awesome things. It's like a double rainbow, insert awesome thing here. That's essentially what it's doing right now. And then that on top of the fact that it finally just broke through this resistance level of about $187. As you can see, it was kind of stopped out right there for a little while. Now we're off to the races. So we're looking really, really good here for Litecoin. If it does retrace back down, we know we have $187 as a support level. But if it can break above here or basically stay above this line here, because again, this hasn't secured itself yet as a support level, the 200, roughly the 200 price range, or 198 to be precise. If we close again above 198 or 200 on the 1-day chart, we're looking to be very good. That's the new support level moving forward. Okay. If we do lose that support level, it's all well and good. It'll probably work itself into a channel between 187 and 200 until it breaks out again. it's looking really good, right? So we've got all good things here, all good signs here from Litecoin, and we can see from before has tons of potential. In fact, if you look at the 1-day chart too, it's done very well in the past also, right? So I think the most recent high isn't even the highest point. I could be wrong. But again, there's probably not enough data here because this only goes back to 2018, I feel, or 17. I think Litecoin's been around longer than that. I could be wrong. But we are looking here at a pretty good situation because obviously there is tons of data here. Okay, so again, 383 is the potential for Litecoin again, if you consider it that way, right? All right, so moving on to the 15. Let's go ahead and take a look here at, actually, wait, hold on. Let's go back to the 1 hour. And I just want to highlight TD Sequential and kind of see where we're at. I think we're getting close to a max here. And if you're new to this as well, TD Sequential is basically just a really awesome indicator to kind of give us an idea on when a coin is overextended or considered to be exhausted, right? Usually it happens around 9 hours or 9 candlesticks for that matter, but I use it on primarily on the 1 hour chart because it's more consistent. And what we do is we look at here, okay, well, see we see the 1 here, and it counts up to a 9 essentially, and when it hits a 9 it'll reset and it should likely retrace back down. So oftentimes you'll see when this counts up to a 9, you have about 9 hours of bullish or bearish momentum, and then it either consolidates or retraces. Sometimes it'll keep going, right? There's no doubt that this could very well continue on. However, sometimes it doesn't always happen that way, and what could occur is a retracement. So hypothetically, we have about 2 hours left of bullish momentum, so it could continue upwards for another 2 hours, but what will likely happen is it'll probably start to consolidate sideways, test the support level here, and hopefully hold above, again, pending Bitcoin staying where it's at. If Bitcoin can kind of close again over 50,000, then we're looking to be in pretty good shape for this to probably stay where it's at. If Bitcoin closes sub 50,000 again, like it has 2 or 3 times in the last 2 weeks, then we might see this work itself into a channel. Okay, so if you got a long position on Litecoin, I say hold it. Maybe move up your stop loss to 187 to be on the safe side, but I think we're in pretty good shape here, all things considered, based on where it's been for the last couple of months. It's doing very well. All right, so that's kind of where we're at there. So that's what TD Sequential can kind of help you understand. Now moving on to the 15-minute chart here, let's go ahead and just enable my favorite indicators here at EMA and VWAP. And if you are new to the channel, I just like to quickly clarify this. Apologize if you've heard this a million times, but the blue line is the volume weighted average price. It's basically an indicator that tells us what's, if the price is either considered support or resistance. What I mean by that here is, first of all, this is the volume the last 24 hours expressed as a price. So this blue line is basically telling us in the last 24 hours, with the amount of volume, the price should be $192. The price right now is upwards about 201, right? So that's a deviation of about 4.5%. That's not out of control. That's completely normal. Therefore, we shouldn't see a retracement based on that sentiment alone. But the bottom line here is that it's working as a support level. So this blue line is essentially a support. The red line is the EMA. So you might be familiar with that. That's an exponential moving average. I use the 15 instead of the 9 or the 20. It's just so I have a little less indicators present at any given time. And it just seems to work a little bit better for me. And what that basically does is it's basically telling us when we have the bullish or bearish sentiment. Okay, so when the bulls are in control, it's above. When it's bears are in control, it's below. But when we have these nice little bull runs here, when you see the price comes up, down, and then when it comes down, it bounces off of VWAP, right? It's like a secondary support. So even though we lost EMA here, the VWAP was holding the price in place. The same thing here too. You see how EMA just keeps holding the price in an upward fashion there? It kind of just gives you an understanding of, hey, should I consider taking my profits or should I stay in this trade? Right, it'll keep testing. And as it tests and it rejects, it stays above. It's kind of pushing the price up with it. That basically tells us the bulls are in complete control and the bears have kind of given way. And majority of the volume we've seen here is more bullish volume, which is very good. So that's kind of what I like to look for. And then just to kind of further that icing on the cake, something you should know if you don't already follow the channel, is that you want to look for when the price is above EMA or VWAP. Obviously, we just identified that it's helpful to do that, right? So if you're taking a long position, price over EMA and VWAP is positive. Those are 2 check marks you want to put on your list. The other thing you want to make sure to understand, and I have this little indicator set up so it notifies me and tells me, but you see this little yellow up arrow, that basically tells me that we have 2 15-minute candlesticks that are closing green, essentially closing bullish. And that basically gives us an indication of a long position. In other words, when you see this happen, you take entry here, of course, because it's basically saying, hey, we've got 30 minutes of confirmation where the bulls are in complete control. Because why not, float in a river and just kind of take it easy and go with the current, right? That's what you're doing here in this case. You're not trying to buy the bottom. You're not trying to find the, buy the dip. You're essentially just getting in when the current is in the direction you're trying to head, right? So instead of just trying to jump in, kind of randomly and hope for the best, you actually have confirmation that the price is above EMA. Great, bulls are in control. Price is over VWAP. Awesome, price is over support. And furthermore, the price is also doing very well in the sense that you have two 15-minute candlesticks closing together, basically 30 minutes of confirmation, letting you know that the bulls have controlled that time frame. And when they control that time frame, the likelihood of them continuing that control is pretty high because, again, we're above support and above the EMA, right? So those are just things that I like to look for. I use this every single day when I try to take entry for my current position, also for my patrons too. And if you're unfamiliar with this here, by the way, I do share all of my trades with my community members. Link in the description below. Check that out in your own time, of course. But the beautiful thing about this is that we, with this system that I have in place, again, over about 15 years of trading, I've been able to develop this, and it works 80% of the time. So I have an 80% success rate with all my trades based on these things I just shared with you here today. So again, it takes patience. It's not an overnight science. You're not going to be a professional instantly just by utilizing this. But I can tell you, if you consistently kind of just develop your own style, your own trading style, and you kind of work on the kinks, it'll eventually work itself out. Okay. So just be patient. If you are new to trading, I promise you that is probably one of the biggest qualities or strengths you could ask for. So my prediction here, to kind of get to that, right? Because that's why you're here in most cases. I like to kind of highlight that. So first of all, I kind of already prefaced this, but simply put, the average true range for Litecoin is what, 173 upwards of about 383, or just say the average before Bitcoin sell off, before Bitcoin went sub 50,000 was just say 306. So if you consider this here, Bitcoin was at 50 to 60,000 here at $306. We're at 50,000 right now for Bitcoin, and it's at 200. So how much more room for growth do we have? We have a tremendous amount of growth, right? We could literally, that'd be 1.5x? Is that what that would be? We could literally go from 200 to 300 in the next couple of weeks. Do I think that's going to happen? Yes, as long as Bitcoin can close over 50,000 going into the weekend, and we have some strong, bullish days here in the near future, which I think will happen because Bitcoin's been kind of in a sideways pattern, and a lot of good coins are taking off. Litecoin, of course, for example, is starting to peak out, where it's breaking some major resistance levels. Same with, Ethereum, Cardano, BNB. There's a lot of other coins that are doing very well. Again, concurrent with Bitcoin, they're very reliant on Bitcoin, just as Litecoin is too, but they're also moving independent of this as well. I mean, Solana is a good example of that too, but that's just kind of an anomaly, whereas there's really, really good fundamentals. That's conversation for another day, of course. Check that out in your own time. But yeah, again, my prediction here would be for Litecoin to, some range somewhere between 200 and 300 in the next, I would say, month, right? It's going to be pretty safe to say you can increase your investment with Litecoin if you're to kind of keep your position open here, because it's done very well in the past when Bitcoin does well, right? Again, Bitcoin was at 50,000 when this was at $300. So you do the math, we're at 50,000 now and it's at 200. I think the likelihood of it coming back up to at least that halfway point, 250, is extremely high. So enough rambling. I hope you get the point. That's kind of my prediction here. I think Litecoin's going to, 1.5x, if you were, in roughly about a month's time or less. I think that's realistic. So I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you so much for your time. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Thank you.